Our today's topic is proximate analysis. Many of us have the habit of checking the label of many products. We see how much calories there in their product, how much carbohydrate content, or all that. And many of us have that habit. So, have you ever wondered how is that all carbohydrate, protein content, and many other things are calculated or estimated and then written? How do we calculate all that? So, today's session is about that only, proximate analysis. So, what is proximate analysis? It basically refers to that quantitative analysis of all that macromolecules like protein, fat, fiber, all that which are present in different amount in different foods. So the method of estimation or the quantification of that thing or that macromolecule is called proximate analysis. So what are the elements or parameters that are considered mainly in that proximate analysis? It is basically moisture, ash, crude protein, crude fat, crude fibers, carbohydrate. All these things we may have seen in the backside of the nutrition level label in the back many products. So all these are the parameters which are considered or which are estimated in the proximate analysis. So let's begin with the moisture content. We all know that different foods or different fruit which we eat have different water level. When we have seen the watermelon, we see that it's very juicy, it's very rich in moisture. And on the other hand, when we take fruit like apple, it is not that juicy. So we can see that different fruits and different vegetables have different moisture content. So generally the moisture content of fresh food lies between 60 to 95%. And how do we calculate it? Basically, there is three methods of drying, that is evaporating the moisture out so that we can calculate how much moisture was there in that. So first what we do is we take the initial weight of that raw food or fruit or vegetable, whatever we have to estimate. We'll take the raw weight of an initial weight, that will be W1. The initial weight is W1, and then with the help of these three methods, oven drying, vacuum oven drying, or room temperature drying, we will remove or evaporate all the moisture content of that fruit, of that food, whatever we have to estimate. And then after drying, we will again weight that product or weight that food, and that will be our final weight, that is W2. So the initial weight with water minus the final weight without the moisture content divided by the initial weight into 100% gives us the moisture percent moisture of that particular food. Here are some example of hydrating foods, different percent of different moisture level in different fruits and vegetable. As we can see here, watermelon has the highest water content, and same like we can say pineapple is also rich in moisture, all that. Now, but why do we need water? Why we need to consume water in this way, like eating fruits, eating vegetables? How can we? Why do we want that basically? Because the main thing is they provide electrolytes, various electrolytes which are necessary for various metabolism processes, metabolism taking place in our body, the digestion, respiration process. Various electrolytes are needed for that. So water provides us with that all that electrolytes. Then comes homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically the regulation or maintaining of the particular temperature of our body. So water helps in maintaining our normal body temperature. then prevents dehydration. So by hydrating with these food, or we can say with the help of these moisture content, it helps in hydrating ourselves, which is necessary for cell respiration and which is necessary for the good health of our body. So it basically prevents dehydration. Then comes, here are some example of high fibrous fruit which we should definitely take for good digestion. Then now the importance of fiber in our body. First, it reduces disease like many heart diseases, blood pressure problems. It helps in aiding that many diseases. And as I said earlier, it aids in digestion. Then it prevents colon cancer. Colon is basically a part of our large intestine. So it also helps in preventing colon cancer. Again, some examples for complex carbs. As we know that complex carbohydrates are good for our health, so we should take complex carbohydrates in our diet. You can see example of oats. We see that oats is 66 gram of it has 66 gram of carbohydrates. Brown rice. It said that when we see many, health or nutrition videos, they say that we should take brown rice instead of white rice. So the brown rice is rich in complex carbs, so it is good for our health. So sweet potato, white potatoes, bread, all that are good source of complex carbohydrate. Now, why do we need carbohydrate? As I said, it is good for health, and along with that, it provides energy and regulation of blood glucose. As we know that carbohydrate is polymer of sugar, that is glucose. Glucose is the main sugar which our body requires. It's the main, we can say energy currency type thing which our body relies on. Glucose is anything which we eat is indirectly going to get converted into glucose, which is going to through glycolysis pathway. There are different pathways. The glucose will move into that pathway and form ATPs, that is adenosine triphosphate, that is energy. It is a kind of energy the body requires in the form of ATP. So it is going to get converted into ATP, and finally will be provided with the energy. So it provides the energy and regulation of blood glucose. Then it breaks down the fatty acid. Fatty acid, as I said, it is the part of fat. So the fat are not the fatty acids of the fatty acid part of the fat are not easily digestible or easily broken down. So carbohydrate also helps in breaking down those fatty acids. Then flavors and sweeteners. As I said, that they are the polymers of sugar, saccharides. So they are also involved in enhancing the fruits like saccharides, where we see there are various artificial sweeteners available in the market, sucralose and all that. So they are basically the saccharides, and they are also involved in flavoring the food and sweetening all that. Now, ash. Why do we need to calculate the percentage of ash in our food? Why is that important? Why do we need that? Ash is basically inorganic residues after complete combustion. Inorganic residues in the sense that are not that are not involving carbon content, hydrogen, oxygen, all that. So ash is basically the inorganic residues which remains after complete combustion in the presence of oxygen. When we incinerate or when we burn the food material at very high temperature, so that it gets burned down completely, what remains is the inorganic residue of that particular material or that particular food, and that is called as ash. The ash basically are ash consists of minerals, like very various minerals which are important in our body. So for that estimation, we need to get estimation of ash. Sorry. So how is that ash calculated? First of all, how is that percentage of ash is calculated? First of all, we need to burn that food or burn that whatever food we need to estimate at high temperature. So what we do here is we take a crucible. It is a kind of porcelain cup or porcelain bowl type thing. We'll take a crucible. We'll take our sample which we need to estimate. We'll put it in that crucible and then we'll dry it in oven for 10 minutes at 105 degrees centigrade. We'll heat it up. Then again we'll remove the crucible from the oven and cool it down. And then we'll take the weight of that thing. That will be our W1. Here we can see that will be our W1. After that, what we do is we'll take the 2 gram of that burnt sample, whatever that was left in that W1 which we take, we'll take 2 gram from that, and then we'll again weight it in a crucible, that is as I told you, that is a bowl type thing. We'll take 2 gram in that and again weight it. That will be our W2. Then the crucible with the sample, the food will be incinerated, that is burned down completely in a furnace. Furnace, you might know that when you say in Hindi, it's called bhatti. No, we have seen in various industries, big furnaces are there to heat up uh, things at high degree. So we'll take the sample and completely burn down, and then first we will burn it at 250 centigrade for 1 hour, and then we will burn it at 550 degrees centigrade. So what we are basically here doing is we are increasing the temperature so that everything is properly burned down, nothing remains, so that our estimation is not incorrect. Will be then we will be heating it up at 550 degrees centigrade for 7 hours for proper ashing, so that we get proper ash. Now after heating, we'll remove the crucible again and then allow it to cool down at normal temperature. Then again we will take the weight of that crucible, and that thing will be our W3. So now after taking all this weight, how do we calculate percent ash? So percent ash will be calculated as W3, that is the weight we take after completely burning down and cooling the crucible. W3 minus W1, the initially when we burn down that thing in oven, and weight after that. So that is W3 minus W1 divided by W2 minus W1 into 100, and that will be our percentage of ash. So for estimating ash, there are also two methods. One is dry ashing and the other one is wet digestion. In dry ashing, the method we have seen now, that is dry ashing, that is heating it up in heating or burning down the food or burning down the sample in ash form, completely burning down, and what remains is ash. And other is wet digestion. In wet digestion, we will use highly concentrated acids like sulfuric acid for the this method is also known as acid mineralization. In this we will you treat the ash, we will remove the ash and we will extract the ash, then we will treat it with the concentrated acid. What concentrated acid here, what we are here doing is that estimation of minerals. So when we treat the ash with acid, it will come into a soluble form, and in that solution we will be able to calculate the mineral content of that uh, sample. It's called acid mineralization. So I think for the time being, we'll take these much parameters for the day, as it is already 4:30 and we have to keep the session for 30 hours, no, half an hour. So we'll take another parameter. One parameter is remaining and some other physical parameters. We'll take up that in the upcoming week or upcoming session.